Hello, and welcome to this tutorial. In today's video we will go through how to set up a Modbus client connection between two Siemens S7-1200 PLCs using Modbus TCP IP protocol. I have already made a project and added my two PLC to the project. PLC 1 will be used as the client, and PLC 2 will be used as the server. If I double-click on PLC 1 and go to the Protection and Security tab, then we scroll down a bit, we will find a box to check that says Permit Access with Put Get Communication from Remote Partner. Then we want to go to System and Clock Memory, and enable clock memory bits, and give it a memory byte address. We then want to click on the PLC's Ethernet port. Here we can set an IP address to PLC 1. If we then go to PLC 2, we want to make sure there are no protection activated on this one. And then we can set an IP address to this PLC. The IP addresses of the two PLCs have to be in the same subnet range. This means the three first parameters have to be the same, but the last parameter must be given an individual number. We can now go to the main block and do some programming. If we open up the Instructions tab and go to Others, we will find a map named Modbus TCP that contains the Modbus communication blocks. We want to add one Modbus client block to the programming rung. To the request input, we want to add our 1 Hz clock bit. This will make the block requesting to send or read for every 1 second to the server. For the other input and outputs, I like to make a data block to keep track of them all. So I will add a new data block and add all the inputs and outputs except of data pointer. To know which data type we need for our tags, we can click the block and press F1. Or another way to do it is to just hover your mouse on the input or output pin and TIA portal will recommend you which data type to use. I will add the correct data type for each tag, then add them to the function block. To know which values we should give our tags, we want to go back to the Help menu of the block. If we then click on the mode link, we will see how we need to set our parameters. Since I am gonna deal with holding registers, I will set my parameters according to this row. I will set the mode to 1, this allow me to write holding registers to the server. But if we want to, we can also change it to 0 and it will allow us to read holding registers from the server. We will test it both out. Data address, I want to start from the first Modbus address, so it should be set to 40,001. For the data length, I will set it to 16. This means I could write or read Modbus addresses from 40,001 all the way up to 40,016. The connect tag have a special data type called tcon IPv4. If we open it up, we can set some parameters. The first parameter should be set to 64. This is because the local Profinet port on the PLC is preset to value 64. It can be found in the default tag table under the System and Constant tab. The ID parameter is which ID our Modbus client should be set to. I am gonna set it to 1. Connection type should be set to TCP IP, which is the value 11. Active establishment should be set to true. The client should always be set to true, and the server should be set to false. The address parameters, we need to type in the IP address of which server we are writing or reading from. So I will type in my PLC2 IP address. For the client, we want to put remote port as 502 and local port to 0. This is the port number that Modbus TCP protocol uses. On the server side, we do vice versa. Local port is 502 and remote port is 0. Now the last input, named data pointer. This one we want to make a separate data block for. So I will add a new global data block. Here I want to add an array of integers with the array limit of 0 up to 15. The same length of tags as I set the data address length to. Data blocks won't give the tags any addresses by default. So to give our tags separate addresses, we need to right-click on our data block and click Properties. Then we need to uncheck this box that says Optimize Block Access. Then now if we compile our data block, it will give all our tags an address each. Then we need to point this input to our data block. To do so, we type p hashtag db3.dbx. Then the first address of the data block, followed by the data type and length. If we go to PLC2 main block, I already prepared a Modbus server to it, and a couple tags that I will write to. If they get a value above 50, they will turn on an output on the PLC. I won't show how to set up a Modbus server in this video. But if you want to know how to do that, I will leave a link in the description below to my tutorial on how to set up a Modbus TCP server. Now the last thing I will do before testing this out is to compile and download everything to my PLCs. I will now monitor both the PLC's data blocks and modify some values. As you can see, when I modify one tag on PLC1, then PLC2 will receive the value, and if it's above 50 an output turns on. If I now set the Modbus mode to 0 and wait a little until the error fade away, then I will be able to read values from PLC2. So now that I modify a value on PLC2, then PLC1 will read its value. Thank you for watching this tutorial. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe.